I saw Raquel's currently in a program. That is very exciting. Congrats. GCU. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Oh my gosh, I am so glad, Adriana, that you are on this call. Thank you, and congrats on your MSW. That's what my daughter's working on right now at University of Denver. Oh, this is great. This is a great session for both of you, for everyone here. Yeah, I can't wait to give some tips and tricks and everything else that you might need, and hopefully you have a good takeaway. I'll wait one more minute and then we'll get started. That's okay. Hi, is it Mia? I think it's Mia, Sarah. Mia, are you interested in a PhD? I mean, if not, that's okay too. I just want to make sure that I give some good tips and hints, and we do have someone interested in a program. So that's really exciting. Okay, well, it's 2:03, so I think I'm about to get started. Well, welcome everyone to this session, Mentoring Latinas on their Doctoral Journeys. So I will share my screen, and we are recording. Hopefully that's okay with everyone. All right. So let's see. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So hi, my name is Jacqueline, or Jackie Rangel. This study is aimed to understand the role of mentorship for Latinas who obtain PhDs while negotiating their cultural or gender identities. So they want to keep intact their culture, their gender identities, while they're going through the PhD programs. So the following 3 slides are my personal examples. But as I present slides 3, 4, and 5, please begin to brainstorm how they pertain to you. I'll ask these same 3 questions to the audience at the end of the presentation. So these are the questions, and this is developing your positionality. So this is how you develop as a researcher or in higher education. Who are you, first of all? What is your positionality? And third, where did your educational trajectory begin and why? So I'll share with you mine, and at the end, I would love to hear anyone who would like to volunteer to give their information as well. So, ¿Quién soy? That's the first one there. Oh, excuse me, I have a little glitch here. Sorry about that. ¿Quién soy? Who am I? So this work is dedicated to my indigenous ancestors. Can everyone see my screen? Sorry, since I stopped and restarted.
Yep, you're all set.
It's good? Okay. So it's dedicated to my indigenous ancestors. My father was born in Seguin, Texas. As a child, he picked cotton alongside his 7 siblings. My mother was also born in Texas. As a child, she missed many months of school because she and her 4 brothers would be with their parents shear sheeping across the northwestern part of the US. My identity is central to this research. I'm grounding my positionality as a first-generation Latina scholar within the data. I want to make a difference for Latinas and people of color in the deficit narrative we face in doctoral programs and in educational systems. This is my positionality. This is how I view my research, and we all have our own unique individual positionalities. So I'll start at the top right. That's Dr. Bruce Matsui, and he was the director of urban leadership, which is a program that I just finished my PhD from at Claremont Graduate University. Below right here is my hero, Daniel Solorzano. So I learned so much from him, reading about him. He's at UCLA. My 2 colleagues in the cohort for the PhD program. And, you know, I after moving back to California, because we went to Indiana for undergraduate and graduate work, but I really began at Mount SAC. So my journey is from community college all the way to a PhD. So with that, After Mount SAC, we moved to Indiana, and then I went to Indiana Wesleyan University. Then we came back to California. When we came back, I ran 14 marathons, and that taught me discipline and led me to train for Mount Kilimanjaro. That gave me the confidence to start the PhD program. And which was more difficult, the PhD program versus Mount Kilimanjaro. But of course, I've always had full support from my husband and my 2 daughters. In my extra time, I presented research to the Chicano Latino Student Affairs Brown Bag Research Series. I was a mentor for 3 years for CPTP, which is this program here at Rio Hondo. I was featured on their YouTube channel as well. Received a National Endowment for Humanities to study borderlands of Mexico. So that affects my positionality as well. And I also received a PFF, Professional Teaching Series certificate, and had a book dedicated as well as a teacher and researcher. Where did it all begin? So a few years ago, we moved to Claremont. We were there for 4 years. And so when we lived in Claremont, my husband and I would often take our 2 dogs on a walk throughout the 5 Claremont colleges. They call them the 5 Cs. At the time, my youngest daughter was working on her bachelor's degree at New York University, NYU. And I kept saying, gosh, I wish she would consider the 5 Cs for her master's degree. Little did I know I was manifesting this for myself. So please manifest good things, big dreams for yourself. Soon after, I walked into the education department and asked to speak to the director. I had to make an appointment to speak with Dr. Matsui. I asked him, why should I incur more debt with my PhD when I'm going to pay a fortune for NYU right now? 2 weeks later, I had an acceptance letter with a Blaisdell scholarship for $2,000 every semester of coursework. So please, the lesson is, do not hesitate to go in and ask when you're seeking for a PhD program. Make an appointment with the directors or deans, explain your situation. You never know what might become of it. Here's Dr. Matsui again on the right. He's a great leader. Next, I have what is a PhD? So there is on the right is the invitation. I actually go through graduation on Saturday. But here are some tips, some takeaways for you. So usually it's 2 to 3 years of coursework and qualifying exams. And then you have a dissertation proposal that you create. Now for this proposal, once you present it to your committee, now you're a PhD candidate. So once you're a candidate and during your proposal, you're looking for a gap in the research to write your dissertation. What is in the research that has not been discovered? So this is something new and something you should be passionate about. Make sure you find a really good chair that you connect with and a committee. Usually of 3 to 5 people are on your committee. Then you're going to write 5 chapters of your dissertation. And after you complete that, you defend it. That's a dissertation defense to your committee. And usually people and the university is made public so that anyone can go to your defense. And then you upload the defense, your dissertation to ProQuest once you have finished, and then you graduate. So there are various steps, but along the way, there's lots of tips and lots of ways to get through these type of things. The biggest tip is to get a mentor early on, someone who's been through it. Ask for a mentor who can mentor you. Make sure you get along, your values line up. All of those things are really, really important, and that they have empathy as well. Now, I'll present my research, what I did. So this is the statement of the problem. In the United States, Latinas are underrepresented in obtaining PhDs. This may be due in part to patriarchal academic institutions and approaches that have historically devalued the cultural experiences and identities of marginalized population, including Latinas. Next is the purpose of my study. So there's a twofold purpose. First of all, to elevate the voices of Latinas with a PhD. So those were my participants. They already have a PhD. Second is to understand the cultural and gender identity of Latinas with a PhD. So for this study, I had 24 Latinas who earned a PhD from an accredited university. They resided in the United States and were willing to discuss their PhD experience with or without a mentor. Now, I chose a PhD and not an EDD because a PhD is research-based, which it contributes new insights to the field. One more slide, and then I'll stop for questions before I continue on. So you always have to have research questions for your dissertation defense. So for Latinas in academia to overcome challenges, they need mentors to negotiate their background successfully within academia. Therefore, I posed the following 2 research questions. And these research questions are, how do Latinas who earn PhDs describe the role of mentoring in supporting their degree completion in higher education? And number 2, how, if at all, did Latinas who earn PhDs negotiate cultural and gender identities in academia with a mentor? So this study is meant to use the term Latina to include pluralistic, not singular, identities of women with different pasts, different levels of social privilege, and who speak different forms of Spanish or may not speak Spanish at all. As the author, I focused on the plurality of the Latina participants who explored their historical oppressions, national identities, and linguistic practices. I'm going to pause for a moment to see if anyone has any questions. Please just unmute and feel free to ask before I continue at this point. Okay, I'll go ahead and continue to the next slide. So here are some scholars in this study. So the literature review is something you have to do in your dissertation, and it's in conversation or building on or extending the work of these scholars in which shoulders I stand. So if you read a dissertation and you like it, look at their references. These authors are all in my references, just a very minute bit. My reference pages are really long. But these are authors in the field of Latinas in higher education and PhDs. So the literature is expansive as far as Latinas, but not expansive as far as mentorship goes for with Latinas in PhD programs. So next, I'll show you the frameworks that I used for the study. So together, these 3 frameworks, in combination with the methodology, which is called Testimonios, served as a lens to understand the 24 Latinas through their identities and experiences and how they've responded to oppression. So LatCrit is the first one, and it stems from critical race theory. It empowers marginalized populations. Mestiza consciousness was used as a gendered analysis for females. And Mujerista mentoring is about mentoring, which guides and supports Latinas. All of these 3 frameworks are what I used to view my research. I couldn't just use one because Latinas are very complex. We need more than one. This study needed all 3. So if you're asking what is a framework, I would compare that to a blueprint of a house. Let's say you're buying a new house and you want to see how many rooms, bedrooms, how do I view this? Is this sufficient or not for me? So you always look at the blueprint of the house. Well, the framework is the blueprint to your dissertation. This is going to tell you, this is going to give you the lens in which you study and write your dissertation, what research you're looking for, what literature you're looking for. So be sure to have really clear frameworks that speak to you and guide you as well. Now, here's the design and methods of the study. So every dissertation has to have a design and methods. My method is somewhat different. It's called Testimonios. And testimonios are like testimonies from people that have had trauma in the past or have faced it. This is fairly new in research as a qualitative research tool. So it's being used more and more, just like pláticas or testimonios, and it's really used by people of color. So in number 1, First, I came up with a research problem. Latinas are among the most educationally disadvantaged. And then I came up with 2 research questions. Then the 3 frameworks that I just described, and then the methods of testimonials as a methodology to theorize a research process and analysis. So despite the continuous tensions faced, the doctoras in this study were persistent in overcoming navigational barriers and finishing their PhD. 18 of the 24 testimonialistas, which are my participants, felt that their mentors created spaces for them in academia. 18 out of the 24 really gave lots of credit to their mentors and mentorship. And that's how they finished successfully their PhD, achieved that dream, that goal. Next is a slight view to my participants. So the Latinas in this study, which again, there's 24 of them, currently hold leadership roles across the United States. They hold power and influence which did not belong to people of color in the past. They're pioneers in education, policy and research, the medical field, and business. I'm honored to have them as participants and a community of support. So the stars in this map of the United States is where my participants were from, what state. 17 of the participants are in a role of education. 3 are in policy and research. 3 are in the medical field, and 1 is a CEO of a business. So these are my 24 participants. I'll pause for a moment to see if there are any questions about what I've presented so far. Anything at all? Okay, I'll move forward. So this was somewhat the concept of Scholar Familia from Cynthia Villarreal out of USC, which was like a compass leading to data analysis. So here's my roadmap of my data analysis. So from the 24 testimonials, I put them into focus groups. And in the focus groups, I did a member check and I said, this was what you said in our testimonial. And they verified or disagreed and gave new information. From that, I had to code all of their information into 329 points of data. From these 329 points of data, 4 themes were born. And those are the themes that I used in this dissertation. Now, here are my findings. So, how Latinas resisted oppressive experiences and used more equitable practices with a mentor. So, represented in this circle is how the themes connect to each other, how they address the research questions and the findings. So, I developed theme number 1 from the data. So, my theme number 1 was the navigational barriers they all said they faced, barreras dolorosas. From that came the 4 points: negative experiences, onlyness, low representation, and lacking mentorship and guidance. For theme number 2, identity through mentorship and Scholar Familia, there is genuine love there. The participants came out with, they were grounded in community, they had a lifetime of mentorship, and their familia. Theme number 3, assets, la cultura, and gender. They came up with finding the right tribe, the power of motherhood. This theme here, la cultura and the gender, was very specific and very rich. And when I say rich, sometimes it was Spanglish, sometimes it was in English, but more than anything, I'd say 70% of my participants I cried along with when they were giving their testimonials. Their stories were hurtful, were sad, were unbelievable sometimes. So this data, this rich data, is really from their lives and who they are and what purposes they served and how they felt during their PhD journey. And the 4th theme, feminist energy, my existence is my resistance. the data came out as having confianza, they had shared values, and they claimed space in academia. So I have to explain my existence is my resistance. That's from one of the participants. She's in the Midwest, a professor, and she said she walks right through that campus with bright red lipstick, big hoop earrings, bright colors, and she walks with her head held high. And she says her existence is her resistance on that campus. So it was beautiful. So I had to use that as a title of one of my themes, as you can see here. So research suggests that mentorship can support Latinas in successfully obtaining PhDs. Next, I'll give you an example of one testimonial. You'll be able to hear it. And of course, I'm using a voice actor just in case. So with this, across the 4 themes, we heard the power of testimonials. Here is an example of a testimonial conducted by a voice actor using a pseudonym. In theme 1, Daisy, the only Latina in her PhD program, describes her feelings of not being validated.
That we are not valued hurts. It makes me want to cry because I think in many of the institutions that I've worked or where I've been a student, my value there is a quota. It always feels that way. My value to them is that we have a Latina in this cohort, and that's it. That's so sad. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I never had a Latina teacher. It should be diverse, and the university should be diverse. Now I'm teaching at the state university, and honestly, I'm the only one. And so it makes a difference because when you don't see us in these jobs, you think that they're not for us. They're not attainable.
Daisy's husband made her choose between having babies or working on her PhD. She chose the PhD. She carries a lot of guilt about her divorce. In theme 2, Angela has suppressed her painful lived experience since the 1980s. Her bravery in telling her story is meant to bring awareness of the injustices Latinas experience in doctoral programs in hopes of change in academia. So she had kept this, her experience, which we talked about for about an hour and 20 minutes, of all of the oppression she faced at an Ivy League college in the 1980s. She has kept this in since the 80s. And when she saw my ad to be a participant, she said, it's time. So here's part of what she had to say.
I was offered a scholarship to the number 7 ranking university in the country. There was a semester when I could not pay the tuition and a miscommunication occurred in the funding. I admit that one of my professors said, you could not ask questions in front of the entire class because you have not paid your tuition. I was hurt and I felt humiliated, and it was wearing on me emotionally. I connected more with the janitors and the house cleaners than with students and faculty. I could only afford to go home once a year during Thanksgiving and Christmas. I was on campus alone. Then my advisor told me, oh, I can no longer be your advisor. I am stepping down. There were more experiences like this that are still painful for me 30 years later.
The asset is that Angela agreed to tell her story in hope of bringing change and awareness. Now, the implications from this study is that research has suggested that mentorship could challenge oppression and transform educational spaces to support Latinas in navigating doctoral journeys more successfully. This study implies that we need a more humanistic approach to inclusivity. We need to hire more Latina faculty, decolonize the coursework and value cultural differences, and tenure evaluations should place value of mentorship. So with this, my reflection in this study, this journey, this completion of the PhD, in relation to the participants I engaged in, have led to a rich substance. So the research on the top in the black in the middle is from my positionality, which I went over earlier, and the power of plurality, how all Latinos are different. It's not just one single umbrella that we all fall under. Being a first-generation scholar is also from my positionality. My existence is my resistance, from Juana, that's her pseudonym of my participant, and from my indigenous roots. So let me go over the positionality very, very quickly. So my positionality is that I struggled without a mentor. I did not have a mentor up until the PhD program, never. I'm also part of the cabinet for Doctorex Hood Club at Claremont Graduate University. We are the first BIPOC club to exist in a private university in the United States. So we create spaces for BIPOC folks that are studying on their PhD. We create resources, spaces, dinners, a plethora of information for BIPOC folks. The CLSA is Chicano Latino Student Affairs. They have a brown bag series, and they're the ones who allowed me to present this in the beginning and really root me on and cheer me on. And I've become really close with the assistant director and the secretary. They actually have a separate graduation this Friday night for Latino Student Affairs. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, studying the borderlands, that created my identity of a twofold of Gloria Anzaldúa, her book Borderlands, that was huge on my positionality. And Eve Tuck and also through the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They have also had an impact on my research and my positionality. The power of plurality for Latinas and other BIPOC folks. There were amazing participants in this study. They used translanguaging. Before it wasn't accepted. Now it is something that should be accepted as part of the culture. They all had their shared experiences of oppression. I gained 24 testimonios, and they felt that the testimonio was healing through dialogue. Tips for obtaining a PhD. So my first tip is be purposeful. Find the right tribe. Find those who you connect with, who believe the same things, those you feel comfortable with, that are transparent. Number 2, speak with the dean. Visit the campus. Go on campus. Is this the right fit? Does it feel right? Are people welcoming? Are you allowed to speak to the person in charge and ask them anything you want to ask them? Number 3, utilize all the resources on campus, such as the Chicano Latino Student Affairs and the Writing Center. The Writing Center was key for me. I stuck with the same 3 writing consultants throughout my past 5 years of the PhD, and it really, really helped. They already knew my topic, my writing style. You can visit the Writing Center twice a week. It's free. Well, it's not free. It's in your tuition. So use all of these resources that you pay for through your tuition. What else? Are there mental aspects of it? Psychology? Are there therapists? Is there a medical center? A writing center? What do they have that honors your values that you can use? Number 4, research dissertations that speak to you or ideas of your own. Go through Google Scholar and research dissertations if your topic's on mentorship for Latinas with PhDs. What's out there? Look at it. Why is this important? Why does it hit home? What is the gap in the research? They covered everything except this. Well, maybe there's your opportunity for a dissertation topic. Number 5, in your coursework towards the end, you are allowed to complete a pilot study. So a pilot study is something that it's like a trial run, but you still have to find authorization to gain access to your research. It's really, really good practice, and it helps when it comes time for your dissertation. And number 6 is take transdisciplinary studies outside of your field. So my field was education, and when I finished my coursework, I went from Claremont Graduate University to Pomona University and took a couple classes in women's gender studies and Chicano studies as well. And if I wouldn't have done that, I would not have my framework. So take a variety of courses if possible. And I know the program at CGU required at least 3 transdisciplinary studies outside of your field. Okay, so let's revisit the following 3 questions. But before we do that, I want to pause to see if there are any questions at all. Anything that might have sounded confusing, you're not sure of. I said that you don't know what it is. I will gladly take any questions at all. Okay, so we'll revisit the following 3 questions. Who are you? What is your positionality? Where did your educational trajectory begin and why? So I shared with you mine. I want to give you some ideas here. To the left, it talks about class, race, ethnicity, language, nationality, mental and physical health, ability, age, sexuality, and gender. So this might be who you are, who you represent. On the right, there's a wheel of power or privilege. And we talk about marginalization, which is at the top, citizenship, skin color, formal education, ability, sexuality, neurodiversity, mental health, body size, housing, wealth, language, and gender. All of this together makes up our positionality. When you know your positionality, you know how you can view your research. So positionality is very powerful. Its role in research is really amazing. So once you really know yourself and know exactly how you can explain that, it'll be very helpful when you're researching. And then third of all, where did your educational trajectory begin and why? What is your story? Where did it start? What did you do? What motivated you to begin this process? So please think about that. We'll revisit this in just a minute. My last slide is what is next. So I presented my research to the Doctoral Hood Club in hopes of helping other PhD students. I also presented it in a round talk and poster presentation to the University of Pittsburgh, also to Claremont Graduate University. And in the fall, I'll be presenting at the University of New Mexico Mentoring Institute. So all of these are very dear and near to my heart because they have to do with mentoring and mentoring Latinas as well. Okay, I will stop here. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna ask for participants here to just give me any kind of feedback at all as far as their positionality. Let's see, I haven't reviewed the chat. Raquel, do you mind if I ask you how far along you are in your PhD program? Ah, your voice doesn't work. Okay, do you mind putting it in the chat? Seventh year, okay, great. Is there anything that touched base with you in the presentation or something that I can revisit to help or clarify everything? I would love to recover everything. I know we still have about 25 minutes left. Raquel, I want to ask, did you have to go through your positionality while in the program? Is that something that they covered that you used, that you had to view your research through? Ah, okay. Okay, I'm reading the chat. Everyone else is welcome to read as well. So the positionality is really that important blueprint. You're stuck right now with your participants. Okay, so let me give you a little tip on what I did to get my participants from across the country. You're very welcome. I made on Canva a poster and said, I'm looking for Latinas with their PhDs and whether or not they had a mentor to share with me. Let's help the next generation of Latinas. Let's help BIPOC people. This can be applied to everyone. I made this poster on Canva, and then I posted it to a research group on Facebook called it's Latinas with Doctoral Degrees. And someone out of New York is running this Facebook group, and there are thousands of Latina PhDs on it. And they have several research groups on Facebook. I joined it, posted it, and I kid you not, within a week, I had about 60 people that had responded and sent me messages and said, yes, I'm interested. No, I'm not. Yes, this, that, just all kinds of things. The most time-consuming part was that I had to go through it and make sure they had a PhD and not an EDD. So there's nothing wrong with an EDD. That is admirable. Same thing. It's a doctoral degree. But I just was looking for research-based. So that's the only reason I asked. Let's see. I tried Facebook, but no luck. I have a center helping me, and my flyer got hacked by people outside of the USA. Oh, no. On Facebook, Raquel, did you do it in general or to a specific group? That might be key if you're looking at oh, you did do specific groups. Okay. Okay, an older, 65 plus. Okay. Have you tried convalescent homes? And you know, convalescent homes might be a great way of doing this. So just to let you know, when you gain participants, they are supposed to be someone that you do not know. So they're supposed to be complete strangers. They need social media and use of a technology device. Okay, I'm going to put my email in the chat. And please feel free to send me an email. Right off the top of my head, I have 2 participants that I know would be interested in being your participant in your research study. So that would be great. And as well, anyone else who wants to use the email or has any questions, please keep that. So that's great advice. As far as convalescent homes, let's see, also low-income senior housing buildings. Oh my gosh, that is great. I wonder if CCE can actually help in any way with this as well. So Raquel, I'm glad you threw this out into the universe because I know I can help you. Hopefully CCE Educational Pathways can help with that. If there's anyone else online that would be willing to help Raquel or know maybe a senior citizen or someone 65 and older, that's her specific group, getting her participants. Thank you so much, CCE Ed Pathways. We'll ask the team. So this is really great. This is great information. I'm really happy. Mia, Sarah. So you said you are interested in your PhD. Do you have any questions at all, or how you get started, or anything at all? Any input that I can have to help you out on that? Not sure if you can hear me, Mia. I'm just assuming it's Mia. How about Adriana? I see that in the chat as well. Adriana, are you leaning towards a PhD or an EDD?
I am leaning more towards a PhD, and I'm so glad that I came across this session because, to be honest, you know, I am first gen and this whole process is very intimidating. You know, even the MSW was like scary and I still can't believe I did it. And now going forward, I'm just like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And it's not like I can ask one of my tias or, you know, my parents, because they just really, you know, their experience has been so different. And so I can't thank you enough. I wrote your email and everything because I would love to reach out to you once I start to kind of settle in more, or if I have more questions, I would love to, you know, chat with you.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. I would love to hear from you. sincerely. I really would. I just want to, really quick, if you're thinking about this, which I hope everyone is at some point, just revisit this one slide. And it's about, again, what is a PhD? What do you do for this? These are all kinds of tips if you can snap a picture or whatever it takes, but what do you do? Like, how does this work? How do I, where do I even start? And that's where I was kind of lost too. And I've, again, walking my dogs, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, maybe I should ask. And then it went from walking into the director's office saying, why should I do this? It's a dream of mine, but like my kids are grown and I have all these student debt from NYU for my daughter. Why? And so it just kind of really works and manifests. And then you can really tell if they blow you off, that's not the program for you. If they're welcoming and they say, hey, this is what our program does. This is what our program is. These are the fellowships. And then you apply and you get a letter, because many times schools or universities have a grant, a big, I like to call like a bowl of money here, and that's for incoming students. So there are many fellowships available, and they could apply that to you. So like I said, I had $2,000 every year that I was in coursework. It might not seem like a lot, but every bit helps when you're doing your PhD. And I got that letter as well as my invitation to become a PhD student at CGU. And it was all because I walked into that office and asked. So don't be afraid of doing that. Again, speak with others that have gone through it. I'm sure everybody would be more than happy to go over their experience. One of the things that I heard that I wish I would have known is that there's 5 chapters to your dissertation. Along the pipeline, as far as I understand, UCLA has a PhD program where one course will take you through your first chapter of their dissertation. The next course, your second chapter. And so towards the end of your coursework, your last 5 courses will take you and walk you through your chapters, so that by the time you end your coursework, you have a rough draft of your dissertation. So that is amazing. We did not do that. We went through our coursework, and then you're stuck alone. You're not with your cohort. You're not in classes. You're by yourself. And I remember crying, thinking, what do I do now? No one in my family knows. My friends don't know my topic. How do I write this monster 200-page dissertation? So if it would have been set up like UCLA with 1 chapter per class, that would have been really, really helpful. But keep in mind, they have to know the gap in the research before they begin. Let's see, I'm reading Rachel's here. I'm by myself. The chair keeps telling us to ask the other students, especially those who have graduated. One of them was charging me. Okay, that's harsh. I have to say, as far as paying someone, the only time I paid someone was at the very end, when I could not spend. I'm not a Word person, I'm a Google person, because I was a Spanish teacher for high school for 26 years. So I did Google School. So Microsoft Word was not my thing. So I did pay an editor to do the table of contents, kind of look over it, and it was a hefty fee. But as far as mentorship, you should not have to pay. Again, find resources within the college that you are attending. So you can even ask, you could say, do you have a list of students? Do you have anyone I could talk to? Walk into their writing center, ask the dean, and if you're you're facing a dead end everywhere, maybe that's not the right institute for you, because we need people to help us along this journey. We need guidance. We need people to say, it's okay to be you. It's okay to maintain your culture. It's okay to maintain your gender. It's okay to be strong-minded. It's okay to use methodologies that have not been used before, like testimonios and pláticas, because there are people that came before us and ahead of us, like Daniel Solorzano, that I mentioned, that he was in my picture. He's out of UCLA, and he has a wealth and I mean a wealth of information as far as what it's like to be a PhD student. Let me put his name here. Daniel Solorzano. UCLA has a great mentoring program, so you can also look them up. I'm not paid by UCLA or anyone to say, hey, look at this program. I'm just saying this is just strictly through my experience. That's all I'm claiming right now. Let me go back really quick and share this one slide that I went over. And this is my positionality slide. This on the right here, the gentleman with the blue shirt is Daniel Solorzano. I met him at the CSLA or CLSA when he was doing a talk. He's an alumni of Claremont Graduate University. And he told me that the Chicano Latino Student Affairs was the only safe place he felt on campus. And he went years and years and years ago. But he says nowhere else did he feel safe. So he would stay there. And they even have midnight sessions. So they have a session where you can go at 9 o'clock at night. They'll give you the code. You go in, you can study, use a color printer. They have coffee machines. They have snacks and sometimes food. And they're supporting. So you need to look for those support systems and those places that shine bright, make you feel like home. Again, this slide is filled with what made me feel good when I was down. At the top is our director. In the middle right here, myself, followed by Marisol and Kamani, my two colleagues in the PhD program. I would turn to them, or I could be frustrated. You know, the quicker you find your tribe, the easier it will be for you. And again, here's my family at the bottom, my husband, my two daughters. They would always, you know, be a shoulder to cry on. And it wasn't all that bad. I want to make sure that I'm not painting it to be this ugly picture. But it is not easy. So it's not easy, but it's doable. So I want to encourage each and every one of you to do it. If that's your dream, it's a matter of finding the right program, finding a mentor, finding your tribe, and listening to the advice of people who have been through it. You can do it. If I can do it as a young mother, and I left Mount Sac because I was pregnant with my older daughter and thought, I'm done. You're not. You're not. And I'm here to prove it, that it can be done. It is possible. And if you need encouragement, please shoot me an email at any time. Look for those colleges, find your tribe, be around those who make you feel good, who have the same values, who are like sunshine to you and not naysayers. That is my greatest advice. Find that mentor. And you know, this program, CCE Ed Pathways, has, I mean, I stand by them on everything that they do because I was one of the first mentors through the program. And they are very organized and can help as well. So please don't hesitate to ask them either. This is a very powerful networking group that has a plethora of resources for everyone. Okay, I'm gonna, sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so I'm gonna just take any questions, and any questions are welcome. Anyone at all. About what college, what trajectory, what you should say, about anything on this presentation you heard today through the slides, positionality. I hope I don't put her on the spot. Not sure if she's listening. Kamani, do you have any hints or tips for, we have a few people in here that are, one is in a PhD program, someone's considering one, someone else is considering EDD. Any advice to them?
No, Jackie, you did a great job. Dr. Jackie, you did a great job. I'm so proud of you. I think the only thing I would say is the aspect of maybe getting a PhD in something different from what you already had your master's or bachelor degree in. And I know you've already kind of touched on that with the cultural studies classes you took.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I hope I'm not delayed. I'm getting bad reception.
No, not at all. Not at all. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's super important as well. And I want to congratulate Doctora Smith, Dr. Kamani Smith as well. We started together and now we're ending together. And I cannot wait to be by her side at graduation this Saturday. So all of you are really in this room with two people that are getting their PhDs, that are people of color, that are females, that are have been through it all. And honestly, I would love to help, and please feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you. Thank you so much for the congratulations. Any other questions? Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Okay, well, I think we have 8 minutes left, so I'm going to stay on. And if anyone wants to talk shop about higher ed, academia, things that I've learned, any questions that you might have not wanted to ask during the session, please feel free to stay on. So I will stay on another 8 minutes until the session is over. And if not, thank you so much for attending the session. I really, really appreciate the comments and questions. Have a great day and thank you. Thank you for your question, Jennifer. Angela, I'm not sure if you're on or not. So you're interested in an EDD program?
Yeah, sorry, I just put my question in the chat.
Sure. How can we do more research on various programs out there? What should we be looking for? So I would look for the length of time. If you speak to who's in charge, so it depends on what you want to do your research in. Is it in education, religious studies, a cultural component? Do you know what topic you want your research to be in?
Yeah, definitely education. I currently work at a community college, so I'm interested in older adults returning to higher ed. I haven't decided exactly what topic, but something to support or to research what resources might be available for students that are coming back from a break or maybe are, never attended college and are starting at a later age. And how do we support them, and what's a better, I don't know, model for us to kind of approach our student population?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not sure where you live, but it's nice if you attend somewhere that isn't too far. We had people, because I was in Claremont, we had people from LA. We had classes Friday and Saturday nights. But okay, great. Friday and Saturday nights, or Saturday all day, were our classes for 3 years. So they would come Friday after work and go to class from like 4 to 10, get a hotel in Claremont, and then the whole next day. That's expensive. And I still can't believe they did that. But they wanted CGU because it covered K through 12 and older adults. So everybody was a working adult that was in the program that I was in. So that's good to research as well. You can just put in, working adults, EDD or PhD, or just put in older adults doctorate programs. And something like that should come up, or working adults graduate programs or doctoral programs. The key terms are going to be really important. And then as you go through there, if you don't want to do reading and reading, pick up the phone and I would just call them. Who's the director? Who's the dean? And just ask. And if you're given the runaround again and again and again, you're like, I can't even ask the dean a question. Then that kind of gives you an indication of the organization as well. Like I said, I know USC has a great EDD program, but again, do you want to go all the way into USC to do that? As far as the cost, that might have something to do with it too. But if you go in and say, look, I'm an older adult, or I'm whatever you want to, how you want to introduce yourself, and say, how can I get funding for this program? I want to do it, but I don't have all this extra money. Can you help me? You never know what will happen or what will become of that. How are they willing to help? And if they aren't willing to help, again, maybe that wouldn't be your top choice. I know in Whittier, you're right there, close to Whittier College as well. Cal State LA has great programs. There's the 5 C's. So I think doing like a Google Scholar search. So you just type in scholar.google, putting in the topic, doctoral programs, that might give you some kind of an indication. But I really like to go in person and see, hey, can I visualize myself here? Is this something that I can do? So I hope that helps, Angela.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. Great presentation. I truly appreciate all the knowledge. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Ah, look at my 2 fans. Thank you guys for joining.
No problem, love.
Thank you, Jennifer. Aw, mwah, mwah, mwah. Let me stop recording.
I love you.